Alright, so I've been thinking about some more, and yeah, I made some pretty stupid errors, guys. Exactly, kitty kitty. So I do think that the X here, depicted in red, should be 1. Now, do I think they're infinite one-dimensional lines? Like, so that could be it, right? Like, if it's either one of two things. These coils are acting as infinite one-dimensional lines, okay? Or they're all connected via, like, say, a copper box around the magnet as one, so that it has a singularity, but it already kind of has a singularity if they're not touching, if you kind of get my drift, if you're trying to follow a field. So, again, I'm not sure. Now, it makes sense, like, if you were to touch it here, then how do you know that this one is connected? Like, they're not connected, so they have to be connected in my mind. So I'm thinking that maybe all of the copper is shorted together, insulated from the magnet. And the same thing with this X. And the whole reason about using copper and aluminum is because aluminum is not conductive. So the copper can be touching the aluminum, guys. I'm being a ridiculous person here. So I think that the infinite wave has to eventually touch a point where the circle starts, okay? But it's going all the way through, This has to touch, okay? The copper has to touch around the magnet, but be insulated from the magnet. And the aluminum can touch the copper. So it's just a wire wrapped around. So we know the diameter of the rods, okay? On both different circles. So that's cool. So it's a lot easier to make than I thought. Okay? It's basically getting 2 aluminum rings with a magnet and spot welding rods, wrapping wire around it, and just putting different, like, layers of insulator on your magnet and then a copper sheet around it. So that's your terminal 1, that's your terminal 2, okay? And your terminal 3 is the coil. Okay? And I think the negative for this one will be this magnet with this magnet. So you'll have that terminal off both magnets, there's the negative, and the positive is this coil. And then you're going to have a positive, negative, positive, negative. 3-phase energy. So that's what I think. Sorry, why I chose the materials I chose, okay? So, and I think it's important because when you have the coil here wrapped around the aluminum, I think that the field is passing through the aluminum, okay? I think it has to pass through something denser than air, let's say. So, and then when the copper is ending on these nodes, okay, it's creating a 0th dimensional singularity because it's finite, right? We have a finite field. So it's not depicting, like, it's a contained X. Dot, 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 line, 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 dot. Okay, for the copper, but the aluminum, it has the same thing because it's touching. So the aluminum might have to do the same thing. So you might have to have a plate of aluminum and a plate of copper, where the copper, you know what I'm saying? That's what has to happen here. There's details, guys. Okay, so. And they can be touching. The copper and the aluminum can be touching, so it's not a big deal. I think that's what this means. Okay? It's interesting. Don't you think? Okay, right here, the magnet. The 3x4x5 magnet times 2. Okay, to make a 3x4x10. I think there has to be an insulator between both magnets. Positive and negative kind of thing. Okay? And then look what happens on the line of balance here. You're going to have a whole magnet on this side, a 3, 4, 5, and a whole magnet on this side, a 3, 4, 5. And you're going to have one like this, and over here you're going to have one like this. Okay? 3, 4, 5 is important. Not a 3x4x10. You need 4 3x4x5 magnets to complete this project.